Welcome to the Far Out Wisdom Podcast, bitch. Oh, jeez. That's not nice, Rick. Whatever, she can take it. We're going on an adventure.
Okay.
And I'm going to say, make a host. I'm just going to say yes. Now you can record.
Okay. Let me record on cloud. There you go. You are now the host. Okay. So because of Isaac.
Not me. It's Apple AirPods' fault.
You shouldn't even. How can you even hear yourself? How can you hear yourself if you're connected to your pod so if you guys don't know what we're talking about, we're using the same microphone.
Yeah.
And you can see he's plugged in. Just look at Isaac. Okay, he's plugged in.
Yeah. Plugged into the matrix.
He's plugging in we have really cool mics and sound quality is fucking amazing.
Yeah, and they're only like $70 or $80. Like I can't imagine why like not everybody in the world who ever might record themselves anywhere doesn't have this going on in their lives.
Yeah, I'm gonna get another mic, but that's not the topic we're talking about today. We were recording something and then Isaac fucked it up, so it's okay.
That's how I roll.
So today we are, or tonight actually is really late. It's like 10:52. So us cool kids are up late.
That's cool kids right before Easter Sunday.
Before Zombie Jesus Day.
Yeah. The resurrection of our Lord and Savior.
So we're going to be talking about Rick and Morty. Well, it's the Far Out Wisdom podcast, the mini-series, the Rick and Morty, the wisdom of Rick and Morty. And today we're going to be talking about the characters of the show. And then we're going to relate it. We're going to try to but like define each character. Not each character. We're going to be talking about the main characters. We're going to talk about Rick Sanchez. We're talking about Morty Smith, Summer Smith, Beth Smith, and Jerry. And try to kind of pretty much define them. And we'll try to put them on the archetype of which one is it. Isaac had an awesome one up. And then
you start out with your thing though, because I'm gonna do a better one than I made.
What do you mean? Oh, the one that I have?
Yeah. Say something with that while I pull up this other thing that I made.
What thing did you made?
Well, let's like an image, but you can share your screen first while I finish clearing out.
Okay, let me share. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. Can you see it, Isaac? Oh, Isaac had his own thing going on.
I can see it. There's Rick Sanchez.
So we're gonna be the characters that, like I said, mentioned earlier, we're gonna talk about Rick, Morty, Beth, and Summer, and Jerry. So you can see Rick, homie Rick, right there. Right? He's 70 years old. Holy shit! I thought he was.
How old do you think he was? He's the grandpa.
I thought that motherfucker was like in his fucking 50s. Fuck, for some odd reason. I don't know.
You can't be a grandpa of a 14-year-old that way.
You remember the episode where he fucked Unity? Like, how the fuck a 70-year-old have sex with like multiple?
He had all kinds of drugs.
That's true.
Say no to drugs, kids.
So say no to drugs because you're gonna have vomit in your mouth constantly right there.
What? Is that what's wrong with me? Must be.
So we're Rick. So this is Rick Sanchez, Rick Sanchez, also known as Rick C-137. He is the main protagonist. I can't pronounce that word. Isaac, can you read for me?
Hold on.
Protagonist.
Yes.
There you go.
You said it perfectly. Well done.
Of the Adult Swim cartoon Rick and Morty.
Yes.
So he is, to give like a little background information, Rick is the member of the Smith household. Why is his last name Sanchez? Do you know? Like, okay, I lied. I know now. That was fucking stupid. So
it's the patriarchy that we have to crush.
So he goes, he goes into many adventures. If you're a Rick and Morty fan, I don't even have to explain this to you. So he is, so as you can see, his powers and his ability, Rick is very smart.
Mhm.
He invents many things, really dumb shit, good shit. So
Well, yeah, the portal gun is the main one.
and it's said that Rick is the smartest being in the universe. So as you can see right there, he invented the space cruiser, portal gun, like you said, the freeze ray. I haven't seen that one unless I don't remember it. So and then
no, that was at the end of season 1 where he like froze everybody except for those 3.
Yes. So then, as you can see, it explains. I love fandom. Like they give so much information, like in detail.
Much.
Yes. So it talks
Thank
about
you,
his
fandom.
intelligence, strength, speed, durability, skill, and weaknesses. So of course he's
substance abuse, recklessness. I don't know.
Drug usage. What the fuck? Rick is often
Self-absorption.
reckless, which put him in a bad situation. Without his invention, Rick is more or less a highly fit elderly man. Anything that can kill a normal human can kill Rick.
Whoa.
He fought God in season 4. So he's very self-absorbent. So he's like he's very egotistical and nihilistic as well. He has scoliosis. What the fuck?
Is that on his weaknesses list?
He has a chronic back pain, and he also has trouble walking up the stairs due to his sciatic nerve being pinched. So you'll see why I'm giving you guys this information. Okay, now we go to Morty. Okay, so we have Morty. Oh, jeez.
I don't know, Rick.
We have Morty. So let me move us. And as you can, he's 14. He was born October 5th, 2006. What the fuck? A lot of information. What is it? Alignment lawful neutral? That sounds about right.
What?
Yeah. So did you see it? Alignment lawful neutral?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, this fandom thing, it's like what they use for like, DC characters and everything. So it would say like, who are the bad guys and the good guys and the neutral guys. So
yes,
that's Morty. He's not evil. He's just kind of a law-abiding neutral 14-year-old kid.
And then to give like a background information, Morty is a 14-year-old boy and son of Jerry Smith and Beth Smith. He freely goes on adventures with his grandpa Rick and occasionally his sister Summer. Morty, this is going to explain. Morty is good-hearted, well-mannered. Although he isn't the smartest guy. Okay, we know that. Despite this, he occasionally shows moments of intellect. And
he's like an average 14-year-old.
I think it was like during like season 1, episode 1. No. I don't know. You remember the one where he turned into a car? It was at the first season. You remember where he does something and then he just transferred into a car? Look right there. Power and abilities, car transformation. Morty has been shown to uncontrollably turn into a car.
What?
Rick said
I remember that one then.
Yeah. So Rick said he alters Morty's DNA long ago to give him the ability to do this. And I think Rick also gave him the ability to be smart at certain times. And you remember when Jerry and Beth was like, you are interfering with our son's, schooling. And then Rick was going on to like this tangent where he said that education is stupid. And then Morty all of a sudden just like turned into like the smart guy, just like randomly saying things about physics and shit like that. So he's programmed by his grandfather to be smart at certain times.
Well, but he's also supposed to be kind of dumb because his regular personness somehow camouflages Rick's, because Rick likes to have him around because like the Citadel of Rick's or the Federation of like all the interdimensional worlds is searching for Rick, C-137 especially. And if there's a Morty around, then they can't really detect him. So he's got to just about always have his Morty around. Yes.
And like we said before the recording fucked up, it's like the yin and yang, where Morty is like the what if we had like a chance, if you Isaac, if you could put Morty in the color, would he be more of the white or the black?
Right.
The yin and yang.
Well, if you're talking about order and chaos, the thing with Morty is he is a young developing person. But the thing about a 14-year-old is they've kind of learned to. Well, maybe I'll unshare your screen so I can start doing my share screen for a minute.
Okay.
But
Go ahead.
Where'd my thing go? Oh, I didn't. Okay. Just a minute, ladies and gentlemen. I thought I had my...
Technical difficulties again.
Where did I put my?
Isaac's fucking drunk right
Oh
now.
no! I'm sober enough. Okay.
Isaac's
Okay.
old.
I'm so old, you young whippersnapper. How do I?
Okay, so we're gonna do Rick and Morty first. So
anyway, yeah. So I did this side by side thing of so on the left here we had the characters that we were talking about earlier in the recording, whatever. But then on the right we have the hero's journey. And that is important because when speaking of things like Morty in particular, he starts out as the innocent young and developing ego, what's the word, impubescent teenager, and
pure.
But more than anything innocent, and also in the sometimes do they have the everyman here on the left.
Okay,
so he's kind of like just wants to get by. He's not trying to do anything too out of the ordinary. He's just like every other 14-year-old for the most part. Belonging and safety represent him as his young developing ego consciousness. And like I was saying earlier in the thing Lost, it's like we go at the very beginning we have the innocent impubescent
we're talking about season 1, episode 1, by the way.
As you see the characters develop, they go through this journey. So he's an innocent and he goes from that to step 2, just like in all of them and all of the heroes journeys, like whether it's the Matrix or Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, Star Wars, any of them, they go through the same journey. So innocent, with limited awareness of problem, and then they have to start their getting into the outer world. So they're becoming a young person on this hero's journey. And what happens? They meet the sage, which is in this case Richard Sanchez, and he has his increased awareness of needs to change at that point, and that's when Rick starts dragging him on adventures and they become explorers. And of course there is the fear and the resistance. That's why that, like in the very first episode, the pilot, he's like, oh geez, I don't know, well, let's not do it, Rick. Just like same thing like with what was his name, Neo in the Matrix. He's all like, no, it can't be, I don't want to do it, whoa. So he goes through that same thing like a couple times, like, no, I'm not gonna do it. No way, let me out of here. It's impossible. The refusal of the call. So Morty does the same thing. But that's when they descend into the underworld and they go into this other world through the portal gun. And this, for example, or of course, there's other underworlds in other of these modern mythologies we're speaking of. So then they become / meet the outlaws. So in this case, they become the outlaws. Liberation. They're leaving their mark on the world, and you can kind of look at this in the first episode, but you can look at it in the arc of a season or the 4 seasons so far, or most of the episodes. Some of the episodes are kind of them just being silly, but they'll go kind of like through this quick hero's journey of those things that we mentioned, go into the underworld, do some adventures, and then you kind of come back up on the regular world at the end, and it's just like, oh, okay, now we want control and go through some dangers to give back to the world and all that. So that was my thing, basically, just to say a little bit of in particular that Morty is a developing character the whole time because he's 14 years old up to this point, and which is the weird thing about using animation is, just like The Simpsons and Family Guy and so many others, they pretty much stay the same age, which gives them creative advantages, but it's a little weird. But also later you run into Evil Morty and some other things as you meet their interdimensional doppelgangers and everything else.
Yeah, pretty much like they're opposite. And with Evil Morty, I think he just got tired of people fucking with him, I guess. And then he won the election. Of course, you guys know this. He won the election, and then he took over and he released all the Mortys that was being tortured. What was the whatchamacallit? The where was that episode where it's like a bunch of Mortys tied together and they were getting like poke? I noticed that episode with I forgot where it was. It was in I forgot what it's called. It was the universe where it's like the Ricks were in charge, and then the Mortys were used as, I guess, like some sort of energy or source or something. And that's pretty much like the symbolism of pretty much Morty's character. He is Rick's sidekick, of course, but it's like Rick needs him to he's chaotic, but he needs somebody to kind of like control him.
But in particular, what happened there was there was one most evil Rick that seemed like he was like so evil, going about and like doing evil things. But then at the very end of that episode, they found out that most evil Rick that was manipulating all the other interdimensional Ricks and Mortys and whatever else, he was being controlled, but they couldn't tell who was controlling him, and then they let the viewers know it was some evil Morty. And then I think it was after that he became the ruler of the Citadel. But the big arcs get confusing because there's only like per season, and we talked about this a little bit last time of this, but per season there's only like 2 or 3 that are like canon, and then the rest are just like random adventures, and then everything goes back to normal.
Yeah, like random adventures and stuff like that. And and so let me screen share myself again. So let me put it here. So let me share myself again, and as you guys see, back at it. So we're still talking about Morty. And he has no self-confidence. Morty often lacks confidence in his choices and himself, which is I can relate. He braps too much. His braps are very smelly. I don't know what that means. So he's very relatable. A lot of people, they think that, I think Morty's character, we can actually relate to him at the fact that we used to be 14-year-olds. We still have moments where we don't really understand ourselves and that we're afraid to step out of our boundaries. Does that make sense? Isaac, you're the same way. For example, both of us, we have podcasts, right?
There's some moments coming. We do have that thing in common.
Yeah, so we have our podcast, and Isaac talked to really interesting people. So
sometimes. Yeah.
So, and the thing with me, at my end, is that today I had a really tough, not necessarily like a tough conversation, more like I had 2 people that were intellectually super sane in comparison to me. And
those are easy because then you just have to be the host. Like, tell me more. Tell me more, you god of knowledge.
And that's pretty much what Morty. It was the same thing, just like Isaac, that you guys saw what he did. It was like that's pretty much what we're going through. And a lot of people kind of want to be, as you become older, you become a Rick. You become very nihilistic. You become, I wouldn't say narcissistic. Narcissistic is like a kind of like a mental disorder, right? Not mental disorder, but more like a personality disorder, you know?
Yeah.
From my understanding?
Yeah, but you can become self-centered, which Rick might not be narcissistic per se, but he can be a bit selfish and self-centered.
Yes. And so that's Morty. So we're going to be talking about next is Summer.
Summer still the name Summer still always makes me think of Vote for Summer.
Like in high school.
No,
Nothing,
yeah,
man. Oh.
Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, Summer's not popping up. What the F? What the F?
What the F?
So Summer is the sister of Morty. She is your typical. Oh my god!
Just a typical teenager.
I'm gonna fucking tweet this out, and you're gonna get canceled when he fucked the dragon. So, Isaac, could you bring up your circle once again before so we can talk about Summer? Yeah,
sure.
Bring up your sucker.
You stop your screen sharing, and I'll start mine.
Okay, let me stop sharing. There you go. Okay, your turn. We're like, your turn.
Your turn. Vote for Summer.
Your turn.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about Summer on this journey.
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't know. The thing with Summer is
she's very limited, not necessarily limited, but she didn't really make an appearance. She didn't really become popular until probably season 3.
Uh-huh.
Season 3, when she started to so she was, if you start right here with that circle right there, the ego, the innocent, safety, I never think that Summer, okay, maybe with the booby episode, maybe. You remember when she made her boobs all bigger, and then she was like, she had low self-esteem, and then
she became like a goddess once on the egg planet.
Yeah, she goes, oh yeah, I think it was like the where the monster gets stuck in their faces, and then like in the end, Summer took over, and she was like, "Oh, you pieces of shit!" You were gonna, she said, "Kill them, you pieces of shit." And so that's what she was talking about. So she became really popular, but I think she made her moment when her parents divorced. That's when she started her bad side started to come a little bit out for more, because she was, if you guys look to the circle, the colorful one, she so pretty much provides structure to the world. I want to talk about that, where she felt like her parents were when they divorced, the structure pretty much broke down, and so she started to felt like she was losing control. So she wanted to stay in this world. If you guys don't know, I think it's Mad Max. It was like that kind of theme.
Oh yeah.
And so she, her bad side started to come out a little bit more. So she wanted to, and to the left, the bottom left with the red, to connect with others. She wanted a belonging with these not psychos. I wouldn't say psychos. The reason why I said psycho is because of Mad Max, those crazy people that ate other people. So she wanted to like enjoy herself for once. And then it kind of went circle, and then it pretty much, the relationship fell, and then she went back home, and then she was like, no, I really want to talk to it was like she was accepting her reality that her parents were not together temporarily. If you guys don't watch Rick and Morty, they're back together, but and so
spoiler alert.
Yeah, I think it was like season 5. I think they're arguing right now. Not arguing, but they were like pretty much figuring out how to air season 5, from my understanding.
What do you mean?
I don't like. I have to look it up, but I read somewhere that there was like problems with season 5, and this is what happens with like not low budget, but like
what? Like they're afraid to get canceled?
No, not necessarily cancel. More like is within the staff. Problems within the staff. Does that make sense? So so anyways, going back to Hero's Journey, it was pretty much like a roadblock with Summer. I'm looking at the Hero's Journey now, and there's new challenge and rededication. So that was her parents. Was the relationship was falling apart, the structure and stuff like that. Then resurrection, and then she went back and said, I love my dad, and she brought him a skull. And said,
How nice.
Yeah, she brought him a skull. So pretty much it's like a circle once again. So yeah, that was her.
Yeah. I mean, so the thing with all the characters, just like in, again, like the major mythologies of our era of, like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Star Wars, The Matrix, all those. There's the main hero character that's going to go through these transformations. And then the other characters, they might go through a similar one like you're describing with Summer, and that's fine. But it's mainly about, one, it's mainly about the main character, which is Morty.
And Rick.
Morty having his interplay with his senior person that they go on adventures is Rick. And then these others will kind of just play off of that, bounce that off that. But then, of course, the real main character to every story, of course, isn't any of these people. It's you and me and whoever is the viewer / listener, reader, whatever you want to call them. So that's what happens. It's just all about this journey, and everybody at different times will take on these different roles within the journey. And the advantage to
oh, that looks so much better.
Oh, you like that? Ah.
Oh, you like that?
Too bad. I don't know. It's not okay. Oh wait, I can press this button. What is my... Okay. What? All right.
Isaac will probably do a presentation with Isaac. It's fail.
Fail. Epic fail. Anyway.
Yeah, and it's you. Yeah, the hero's journey is you, and your existence.
Oh yeah. So it's just about that happening within the psyche, which is unconscious. So these people are basically like object lessons to project and reflect onto, so that the individuals, whoever is the viewer of the story, can see this within themselves, as that they bring to surface this thing that we would call maturation, as they can see their own ego forming into its own individuality, but at the same time it has to get crushed and put back together as it fits into the collective. And one thing that Rick and Morty writers do well is they show these kind of things, but in a very chaotic kind of way, to show that even like the most chaotic of all universes that there may be, you can this kind of structure of the hero's journey and these characters will always work, and it has to, because like you can see in other stories of, you know, like the modern Disney Star Wars, for example, where they try to impose different ideas instead of the traditional hero's journey, and it just doesn't work, and they lose fans and they have to like redo it. But the hero's journey,
they went woke, by the way. Star Wars.
Well, and the thing is, they just went too far, because they didn't have to do all that. They could have just said, sure, put women in the hero's role, no problem.
Right.
Great. That's been done a bunch of times for forever. And I mean, maybe not as much as men, because when you put a woman in the hero's role, that's fine, but she's still acting out masculinity. And that's fine. But what they did that took it too far is then they're like, now we're going to denigrate the masculine characters, and especially those traditionally within the Star Wars mythology of Han Solo and Luke Skywalker. We're not just going to like make them lesser, but we're going to ruin their characters as much as we possibly can in one trilogy. So the whole thing with all this like coming to balance of the opposites of the masculine and feminine, and them like embodying like harmonious roles together, is not like going back and forth trying to destroy each other, but coming into like a dance. And so that's what you see with these characters of the main five and Rick and Morty, is Beth and Jerry, that we'll get into here in a minute. Right. They have their own weird dance, especially if you get into like the mythologue episode that maybe we'll talk about sometime. And then Morty and his sister kind of have their own little interplay, and they have their own love interest, of course. That they kind of.
He's not saying them too.
There's nothing incest. Although there was a weird line with all the Mortys hanging out in one of those episodes, and one of the weird Mortys, he's like, I wish there was they went to like the wishing portal or something. Like,
Right.
I wish there was a universe where incest porn was more mainstream. It's like, that's weird.
That's
a strange thing to wish for.
That's fucking
I
gross.
think he was like the lizard Morty or something. Anyway,
Was it? Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think so. I think so. We somebody fact checked on us on that.
Yeah, but what they're actually doing is they're trying to come into a sort of symbiotic unification, which is Rick and this chaotic thing, because he's kind of like become the ultimate being, but because of that makes him very lonely. It's very much like the story of at least theoretically what God has to be, because if God is God, and
Right.
at least in a theoretical word, then he would be like ultimately lonely, because like at the top of any dominance hierarchy or any power structure, that which is on the top is like ultimately lonely, because there's little or nothing that can relate to it,
because you're a powerful being. You know what I mean?
Well,
it's
there's no equal, there's none like you. So that's why boys and girls, on this Resurrection Sunday that we're almost getting into here by the time this airs,
sorry, Jesus.
Yeah, little sweet baby Jesus resurrected it was
and something's had to do with fucking eggs.
but what is in the like theory of God is that it was so that there could be God relating to man and man relating to God. So same thing with Rick. He is very lonely and almost like you want to say psycho or some other disorders, but he's able to get by with all that just because he has that family, even in their weird relationships. And sometimes he has his own romantic interest, and sometimes we hear a little bit about that, like Beth's mom and his relationship to Beth and his relationship to Unity, and he fucked a planet. But anyway,
yes.
Back to you on that
and then
note.
and also he there was a moment where he you remember where he made a clone of Beth, and the awesome Beth came back, and then they said, who is the real Beth? And then the ending was that he felt like a piece of shit for I think he it's not like what
what they did there was super meta, because what he did that, and it's hard to even like conceptualize how like strangely fucked up that it is that what he did is his daughter's still alive, great, but in a weird way it's like that he killed his daughter because what he did. And it's definitely one to like, that might be like the deepest episodes, maybe like if we're gonna specialize an episode, that's one to work on. But what he did is his daughter wanted to not just be stuck at home all the time, because she didn't even really go on the adventures hardly, but she like wanted to kind of be in that world. But she was like stuck there, kind of like taking care of the family, hold it down, and taking care of all them and everything. So he basically said, okay, well, what if I just clone you, and then that way clone Beth can take care of the family and you can go on adventures. And then somehow they decided to the one that goes on adventures won't know if she's a clone or not, and then the one that's at home won't know that she's a clone or not. But eventually they figure it out that there's a clone. And when that happens, we figure out that
keep talking, Isaac.
Rick thought that he I don't know exactly why he decided to do this at the time. Maybe he was drunk, I don't know. Which he is kind of like an alcoholic, which is another big important sort of like theme to possibly explore, as like the functional alcoholic. which is Rick. And so in that, he decided to mix up which was the real Beth. And so
Right.
and even his own memory or like his own awareness or whatever, so he could know which one was the clone and which one was really her. So there's two versions of his daughter, but then it also gets into the whole meta thing of like, what is a person, you know? So like the clone is exactly like Beth, but it's because it had all of her memories and everything.
Right. Right.
But then one of them stayed home and just did the same Beth stuff, and one of them went on adventures, but nobody knows which is which.
Right.
And so they kind of like hated him for it, but then they like said, oh, actually this is cool because we've got like badass Beth and we've got regular Beth and it's cool. And that was like at the end of season 4. But yeah, it's kind of fucked up because he doesn't know which is which is kind of like his connection to like the real Beth, his daughter, and he like destroyed that real connection to like his like one real closest family member.
I think like with him, I think he's like, we're talking about Rick, right?
Richard
Rick
Sanchez.
is like, with Rick, I think I always feel like he wants this connection with people. But I think due to his egotistical piece of shit attitude, it makes it very difficult for him to connect with people, because it's the fact that he's such a fucking genius that he can't relate to people besides Morty. Does that make sense? Like Morty's not a genius. We know that. He's only 14 years old.
Oh geez.
But going back to like that episode about his daughter, to me, I feel like he wants options. Does that make sense? Like he wants options. If he feels like he's stuck in one, I guess, one existence or one what's that word? He gets bored too fast. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like it's just
that's another thing with the magician archetype and highly intuitive, highly creative, highly intelligent people is and like from myself, even I'm not trying to say like I'm some smart guy or whatever, but
yeah,
that's one like, and it's like a common thing because like the IQ
you're talking about yourself, right?
Yeah, well just in that things can get boring easily, and like that's why I like kept switching careers 2 or 3 times, so to speak.
I get bored too, man. Like it's just like
it's like an intuitive thing. But that's why I'm kind of like more into these kind of psychological things, because even if it's like not paying the bills, it doesn't get boring, you know.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, podcasting and stuff like that. Just like, you know, it's just a conversation that's interrupted, and I think that's where a lot of that's how Rick is, but he's a little bit too much. You know, it's like
the magician.
Yeah, me and Isaac, we're not gonna go and start fucking drinking and fucking planets and shit. You know? Not yet, but as much as we love to.
Like, planets only.
So looking at this
okay, yes,
this chart that I pulled up. So Isaac is his chart that he pulled up is a little bit more advanced. So this is kind of like the dummies version.
Well, it's just like the straightforward with a description and a little like icon, but you go ahead.
Right. So with the hero, of course, we think about, you know, officers. Okay, with strength, courage. I think that's stamina, faith, competing against great odds, arrogance, delusion, and grandeur. That's pretty much like kind of Rick. You know, his personality that comes a little bit in. And then the sage, he's wisdom, intelligence, and stuff like that. Feel disconnected, passive, and passiveness and arrogance, which he has as well. Because he's so rational and logical that he comes off as not empathetic.
Right.
And he comes off as a fucking dick, right? Like arrogant, right? And then the innocent part. This is more of a Morty and a Jerry as well. Yeah. So let's break down Jerry really quick. So this is Jerry. Jerry Smith is one of the main characters of Rick and Morty. Jerry is the husband of Beth Smith. He's such a fucking cuck though. Like He's the father of Rick, Summer, and Smith, and of course. So, as you can see, he's. I like how they give the information that he's alive.
Yeah, you kind of have to because, well, with all of them, because most of them have kind of died at different points. I don't know, and some of them have had close calls.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Definitely, Rick and Morty have died. I don't know how many times that Morty has, at least a couple times. Rick, a lot of times, sometimes even in one episode.
Right.
I don't know about the girls, but they always have ways to like replicate and come back, whether it's through another dimension or clones or something, which gets into this whole other meta issue of like what is life, and if you could, teleport throughout the galaxy or dimensions and destroy yourself and come right back with the same memories and clone yourself, whatever else, is that still you? Like, what is a person is like theoretically what that starts to get into. But right.
And so going back to like Jerry.
Yes, please.
So he is Jerry C-137. So this give a like a good kind of like straight to the point. Jerry has always tried to think of the best interest of the family, but his attempt to be the patriarch of the family can often be misguided by his self-centered nature. So you can be he come off as my sister. Let me sorry, my sister. So my sister Murderin, I talked about her like many times on the podcast episode. She is a INFJ. So we're talking about Myers-Briggs right here.
She's an F and J.
INFJ.
Okay.
Yeah. F and J. Right. And with Murderin,
introverted, intuitive feeling judger.
Yeah, judger. So what my sister does is that, okay, so she wanted to start a podcast on her own. This is not with me. She said that I was too I come off too aggressive sometimes.
Too edgy
for me. Too like so
handle you.
So she blames everybody but herself, and she come off as a Jerry to me because the fact that I hate to say she's not narcissistic, but she is self-centered. So basically, if you guys look at Jerry, the character, he's a coward. First of all, he runs away from his fucking problems, and we're going to talk about the marriage episode, right, in the future. So if you look at the marriage episode, he's like this, literally this lifeless dick that just walks around and just like
he's like a slug or something. Like me. I don't even know if he can talk when he's a slug in that mythologue.
And so. And just like, my sister, it caused her great pain. And pretty much what she's doing a Jerry. And it causes conflict with a Rick, a character of the Rick. So we're talking about the hero, the arrogance, the smart, the smart ass. And my relationship with my sister is like kind of similar to that. Where, I try to tell her to start a podcast, be confident, but then her self-confidence go back to her being a fucking slug. Me. I can't afford it. I can't do it. I can't afford it. I mean, I don't want to talk, I'm not a talker. So her attitude, she knows she can do it. She has that energy. And then after she knows that it's her time, then she's like, she turns back to a fucking slug, And so that's pretty much what she's a Jerry.
All these characters are in every single person. Just sometimes we can like accentuate one more than the other, or like suppress one or tame one, or whatever the case.
Right.
But they're all within us all.
And of course, my sister, just like this personality said, Jerry is a loyal family man, which is true. I mean, he wants the best interest of his family, but he's too much of a bitch. Does that make sense? And he becomes, and so that bitchness, all right, comes out. His basic bitch comes out. He wants to be a diva, Jerry. He wants to be the man, the masculine, but it just doesn't work out for him. And if you watch the season 4, the episode where they go, I think it's the episode where he put the Christmas tree lights. He couldn't even do that. Yeah. Because of he come off as useless. And then I think Rick replaces that that masculine father figure in the family because Jerry can't do it.
Well,
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Go
but
ahead.
the big thing with him and his role and all these things is that he is constantly the self-proclaimed victim, and he's constantly just wallowing around in his victimhood, which is really important because a lot of modern stories or modern shows or whatever these days, they like glorify victimhood like it's virtue, when of course it's the opposite. So in the Jerry mode, they let everyone know like being a victim isn't the best choice.
Right. Jerry come off as everybody's the fucking problem, but not me. Everybody's yeah.
Although one thing that they mentioned there is that his lack of intelligence is on paper his biggest weakness, but in a way that makes him easy to be happy. So,
yes, that's true. That's true.
So that's also his big strength, which is like kind of this other like meta thing or theme or whatever, is that like intelligence can be torturing the more you have it.
So I'm gonna be he's like naive as well. Like it's
but
like,
in a way that's makes him happier.
Yeah.
Because it's like easy to please him.
Yeah, it's like I'm happy with the world that's around me. I don't need anything else.
The best example is when he was in that like virtual world. Yeah. Like he accidentally got in that virtual world where the I don't know, evil overlords were trying to get the information out of Rick, and they're supposed to only have in there Rick and Morty, but somehow Jerry got in there, and so then they just try to keep him busy with a virtual his workplace or whatever, and then that's when he's like, oh wow, I'm gonna get this job. and then but they put it like on low power mode for his simulation, so the guy's his like fake boss is like, he's like, I've got, I don't know, he keeps like defeating himself, but do you think I could do that? Yes. And he keeps saying like, yes. He's like, all right, I can do it. And then he goes in and he like pitches his advertising campaign of like, hungry for apples? And then, which is like, a horrible idea. But then all the like low powered simulation characters are like, yes. And so it's like the greatest idea, or I mean like the greatest day of his life, because he thinks he like won at life, because everybody's just like yes. And he's just going with it because that's all it takes for him to be happy, is just for things to say yes.
Exactly. And you remember the episode where I think it's like the beginning of season 3, from my understanding, I don't remember, where Rick served time in jail, and then they went back to Earth, and then this machine came to them where they were back on Earth, and then it scanned him, and I was like, oh, you are under distress, here, take some medication, report to, I think it was like the main place, and he was like, I got a job.
Yeah. Everybody just gets assigned a job, and then like there's like a meme that went along with that, is like, he says like, I just kept crawling and it was working. So all he did was he was crawling, and then they were giving him pills, because that's how you get paid in this world now, or on Earth at that time.
And then that's Jerry. He's pretty much he's it's like he doesn't experience depressed realism. Pretty much that means that people who are they're more aware of the world around them. That's why you get Rick and Morty, and they become really depressed, because the fact that they see realistically the universe around them that's pretty fucked up, but at the same time they can have fun. But with Jerry, I think he refused to see it, and so it makes him happier, just like I just said perfectly. It makes him happier, and so being paid pills is nothing. I'm happy. I'll take so many antidepressants. I'm gonna take pills, and he get paid like a 6-figure or something. I remember Beth was like drinking and taking the medication, and Summer was really upset because Grandpa Rick was serving time, and so and so forth. So that's what Summer trying to rescue her grandfather from the Federation. So we're going to talk about Beth. So she is one of the main characters of Rick and Morty. She is the daughter of Rick Sanchez and Mrs. Sanchez. So Diane Sanchez. She doesn't really make it. You see a little bit of her in season 4 when they talk about the Szechuan sauce. Yummy.
The Mulan sauce. Mulan
that's a real thing, by the way. That was a real thing, by the way, guys. So her background, let me see if they give her personality. Beth is intelligent. She really is. She's like of course, the mini me of Rick, her dad. She is intelligent, ambitious, independent, a woman who suffered from a very of deep-seated insecurities. And you guys see this when she talked to Dr. Wong in therapy, because I feel like with Beth, when she gets challenged, she becomes defensive. So she knows her dad is he left. I don't know how long. Do you know that, Isaac, that information? How long he left her? I don't know, because every time she was like, he's gonna leave again, and
yeah, I think it was I'm not sure, but I think it was something like basically for the life of Morty up until shortly before the show started. So I think it was like 14 or 15 years. But I don't know if there was another time before that, like when she was young, maybe. I'm not sure, but
yeah. So I like how they pretty much define her really well. She snaps when people challenge her. So you can see like a real surgeon or a real veterinarian. She may share this belief, which she has been able to continue her medical education to become a real doctor in Rixie minutes. So she, is that type of person who damn well is she come up as somebody who's like go to community college and think they're fucking shit, like
well
yeah,
but I think she also does a good job of this of this person who is intelligent, but
yes,
because they're afraid of like becoming their father, they self-sabotage. And
right here you see it, Isaac, see Beth has a superiority complex right there.
Yeah,
explained. Yeah,
and that's why that she is codependent with Jerry. Jerry's like her tool for self-sabotage, because of course if she were to be like a power couple with somebody more like her dad somehow as a husband instead, then she would have all the take over the world stuff, or even just being alone might even be the more ideal, is to be alone, sort of like her father had become alone. But it's almost in a way like how that Morty camouflages the brainwaves of Grandpa Rick.
Right here,
the codependency of Jerry holds down herself to be in this like lower level of a person, because that's all that she wants to be. And yeah, so it's an interesting way to explore all that, especially because that's another like big thing of the modern era, is like self-sabotage and how and why people do such things. But
yeah, exactly. And so her genius father's clear preference for her over her idiot husband has turned into fed her feelings of superiority, especially towards Jerry. She also exhibit resentment towards being patronized during her surgical work, such as by her co-worker, which is true. She snapped at them when she was trying to rescue the deer. Davin, when he lets her know they're losing a patient. So Davin, I believe, is that her. I don't remember that character. I think he was like the guy who tried to hit on her or something. Or when another veterinarian implies she cannot save a deer. These feelings of superiority, however, seem to disappear quickly when Rick is removed from her life, or even when she merely feels confident in herself. So, being a little bit racist in a bit, like the Asian people where your parents, and I'm talking to,
they're hated, right?
They're like, you doctor yet? And pretty much, your Rick he's a genius, and Beth compensates for that by, this is what the thing with human beings, and it's pretty fucked up to kind of like admit it, but like human beings, we want to be like, we always compare every time we feel inferior, we hang out with people that we think is is lower than you. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. That's pretty fucked up to say.
What it is that we develop an identity, which happens for the most part in the first about 4 years of our life. And it has to do with our ability to get attention from and compete for attention with our parents and the outside world, or the world that is outside of our control or our body.
Right.
And so we develop, and so if we're spoiled, then we can develop more egotistical things. Well, that's kind of weird because it's at the what's the word? Narcissistic people, they're actually the ones with low self-esteem, but they compensate so much that they have this artificial facade of self-worth. So
we had a common friend that was like that, by the way.
With narcissistic personality disorder. I was thinking I might actually do an episode on that next week.
Narcissism?
Oh no, just actually on chapter 3 of the original 12 rules of life, which is
Dr. Peterson.
Yeah, well, which is get friends that want the best for you.
Right.
So, which is something that we talked about a little bit last year, but we didn't really get into it in an episode like we thought we might.
Right.
But yeah. So a lot of us sometimes we don't like. There's a exchange of friendship and exchange of relationships in the world around every single person, and we all just kind of want to have relationships, and so sometimes we just put out the easiest version of ourselves to put out just so that people can attach to it.
Right.
But that's not always good for ourselves and good for those that we have relationships with. But what we want to do is put out the best version of ourselves and attract and attach to those also doing the same, so that we elevate each other. Anyway, you see this in these stories too, is that sometimes we the right thing to do is to try to elevate yourself by having better relationships and challenging each other to be better and better. But usually what we do out of some ego survival mechanism or something is we have relationships with ourselves and those around us that are not very good for us, just because we do the easiest thing. And the easiest thing is to just kind of put yourself out there which is what most people do. But
a fucking slug.
Yeah, slug. Yeah. Like Jerry, and then that attracts a Beth sometimes, but sometimes not. But anyway, back to the character archetypes.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, are we still on that?
Yeah. So it's it's really interesting. I mean, the Rick and Morty, they I relate so much to it because the fact that it's just it's not if you take the time to read Carl Jung and stuff like that, he gets into more details about the archetype. See, Isaac, he's more knowledgeable about that than I would. But when you learn about these archetypes and stuff like that and how it's all within us, you start to kind of become more, it all depends really.
It's happening inside of every single person, but it's usually unconscious. So if you start to gain more knowledge of it, learn more about it, then you start to see it more in stories, just about any story in the world, and how that they kind of get that right or get it wrong or present it right in a way that kind of elevates the reader or the viewer or whatever, and then how they do it right or wrong. But also you see it even in your dreams, but also just in your day-to-day life of your own development and maturation of how that your mind and the world is trying to help you elevate into becoming a more mature person.
Right.
And that's just how life and consciousness works, but it's usually unconscious, and we're in that
dreams,
sort of
your dreams. It comes in your dreams as well.
It comes in your dreams, and it's just going on in your life. And if you go with it, you can mature and be like a more integrated person and all that. But if you resist it, then you become like a Jerry Slug and
Or my sister.
yeah, well,
It's like, she's a slug, man.
I don't know your sister.
I'm gonna admit that she's a fucking slut. She's like, she's like, everybody's the fucking problem but me. And she's like,
I don't know her, but we all have some slugs in our lives. And
Jerry.
Sometimes we have our slug moments here and there.
And it's true. I mean, the other night I had a dream about a alligator or a crocodile, and I felt that during this time where a lot of changes is happening in my life, where I felt I don't feel confident sometimes. Like people look
You're
at me.
A strong, independent woman.
I'm a strong, independent woman.
Yeah.
If you look at me and Isaac, I mean, it's practice, to do what we do. I mean, a lot, like we talk about the episode where we talk about the Web of Lies. Me and Isaac did it, where we talk about podcasting, and a lot of people get really kind of shy. They don't want to do it. And I have my insecurities as well. I mean, if you look at my podcast, I'm finally posting something that's like in person, in video, and a lot of people like that video, that contact. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to try it out. It's not that I feel like I'm fucking hideous or I look like a slug or anything like that. It's just that I'm not.
Well, it's just one more thing to worry about, because like already you've got to like worry about preparing and all that.
Preparing.
And then if you also have to worry about like I didn't even put hair product in, and should I have shaved or not?
I didn't contour. Oh my god!
I didn't put cucumbers on my eyes last night. It's just more to worry about. Whereas, if it's just audio, it's less to worry about. But
right,
it's more connection you can have between the people talking and potentially the viewer / listeners if they want to also connect on that level.
Right, that's true. And so I just things like that, and like Isaac said, we are a lot of these characters that we in Rick and Morty, and there's even more. There's an episode, if you guys are new to Rick and Morty, where there's a parasite, and there's the fucking unicorn is in there. I think Jerry's gay lover is in there.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's. I'm not saying everybody's gay. That.
No, that's a no.
I gotta say the emphasis. And of course, in season 1, episode 1. I mean, Morty lost his innocence when he put that fucking seed in his butt. I mean, maybe that's the portal to freedom.
Putting things in your butt. All right, I guess I'll have to try it and get back to you guys.
It's like, let me see if I grow as a person.
Yeah,
when
putting stuff in my butt.
In my butt.
I've never done that before, really.
It and you see this. I think it was like season 4, where Morty had the crystal on his head and he saw the future of everything, and he felt Morty, in my personal opinion, felt like he was finally in control. Morty, in my personal opinion, the character, he feels like he loses control, like he wants control, but at the same time he doesn't want to control. And the reason why I say this, because I feel like I relate a lot to Morty, because like I have the confident, and then my inner bitch comes out and I become the slug. And then I'm just like, it's back and forth. And I think that's what Morty, he's the same way. But in that episode, he felt confident because he know ahead of time what's going to happen. So he became confident. And you see this in the episode where the acid, where Morty challenges Rick. And so, Rick and
the vat of acid episode,
right? The acid, and Morty was pretty upset. It was like he got really irritated. He came out and shot the bad guys, and then so he challenges Rick for the first time, and then after that he felt more comfortable when he was in control, when he had that the device that can pretty much like how in a game character where you fuck up and then your last checkpoint. And so with Morty, he felt more like, okay, I'm in control. I can do whatever I want without any consequences. And to me personally, I'm the same way, where I don't want to take any risk because I know the consequences is going to stay with me. Just like, I had a very controversial guess on Foul, and I'm like, I was like a little bitch the day before, and I was like, should I do it? Fuck it, I'm just gonna go in and all out, right? And that's what I did. And so now, the consequences, and going back to Morty, in the end, he realized that Rick saved him again. And it's just that's how I see it. It's just like with Morty, he finally felt control, and then he offended everybody.
Well, okay, control and order and that type of thing. It's some more important things because it's also getting into this modern issue that families and just society right now, it's kind of like lost its clear sort of vision or idea or image or symbol or whatever of that which is order and control. So like in the past, as other points in history, even just like 50, 60, 70 years ago, there were more images of control or symbols or ideals of like controlling figures, whether that was a certain patriarchy or father image or kings or certain leaders in the military and whatever else. And you can say that has its advantages and disadvantages, and that may be true. But now in our modern world, we don't really have that. Like nobody can really look and say, look, here is our symbol of leader and structure and authority. And
we have Biden for president, who fell down the fucking air. I feel bad for saying that. He's an old man. We don't have a strong leader. We don't have a leader anymore.
He's not even. It doesn't.
I don't think he's there.
He's not even a person. He's just like a thing that kind of
like
just
an old slug.
Yeah, he's like an old Jerry.
Yeah.
And he's like old Jerry for president, and
Jerry for president.
But I mean,
Kamal's Beth.
But I mean, Jill Biden does kind of look like an old Beth in a way.
Yeah.
She's the one holding that family together.
Yeah, she's the breadwinner right now.
Yeah. That's a tough one to comment on because my whole thing with that is it's just a danger. It's an example of what I was just saying a minute ago is of how that there's no structure, and that
right.
A lot of people are like, is that really the president? Did he win legitimately? And conspiracy theories aside, there was a level of election fraud that we're just not allowed to think about, talk about, or investigate. So, in other words, like, what if we just investigated? Then we knew to the degree that it was an issue, because guess what? We're going to have more elections every year or 2 or 4 years or whatever. And every time we want to make sure that we have like optimal amount of confidence in that whole process and everything else. But right now we have about 0 to not just to the degree that we don't have confidence in it, but that we're not even allowed to think about it or talk about it or investigate anything related to it.
Right.
But we still have to be like, but you've got Jerry for president, so
you got an old Jerry for president. It's like an old Jerry for president. Woo.
Well, and the most
yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing. Trudeau in our hat, America's hat, Canada. He is he's a Jerry. He's more of like a handsome Jerry. That like the world's led by Jerrys now. They're either it's either Jerry's or
Morty.
Or are people
what? Let me see.
People like what's his name? Bill Gates, which are kind of like Jerry versions of.
He's like the Elon Tusk.
Sanchez.
The Elon Tusk.
Yeah, that was another show.
Elon Tusk is the character in Rick and Morty, by the way. So, well, he didn't make a lot of appearance or anything like that.
I think he was just in the heist episode.
That's it. Yeah, the heist episode. And so, like all the 4 main characters in there, they have their 5. Sorry, their archetypes are, Jerry is obvious. Jerry. I think to me it's easier to kind of identify with Rick and a Jerry. Of course, there's Evil Morty as well. So Evil Morty, is a character that's in there. Did you know? I know this is a conspiracy theory for fucking Rick and Morty, but I don't. In that episode, there was a character that walked in the back, and it looked like a Morty mixed with a Rick.
What?
Which I thought was, yeah, I'm serious. I have to show it to you. But you go ahead. But it's like save your screen. That's what I'm saying. So but anyways, it's just like all these characters is such a, with Rick and Morty, it's such a cool show because you relate so much to it at the fact that it's so simple yet so deep yet so complex at the same time. You know what I mean? And
like
so
the mind.
Exactly. So if you look at the total archetypes and which one dominates you, everybody's different. We're not saying you're the same. We're not calling you fucking Jerry. We're not calling you a slug. we're not calling you even Morty.
President Biden. We are.
He's like fucking. I feel so bad for him, man. That motherfucker just like he's gonna break. Watch, he's gonna fall. His dog is like.
I mean, he's gonna probably retire this year. So whatever.
We're gonna have the fucking evil Beth,
No, evil Beth.
You know, I'm talking about the Beth that turned into a fucking spider. That Beth.
Yeah. That's a good description. Lord Kamala.
She's gonna fucking devour everybody and destroy everything in the process. But you know, this 12-person archetype, it's all within us. You know, we all want to. We start off as innocent. That's the moment that we're born, and then we became to like understanding the explorer, and then it's all like around a circle.
Like a circle.
And it's just, you know, something that we just gotta learn, and sometimes we have to fist fight God, just like Rick did. You know what I mean?
I don't know if that was supposed to be the god of all gods, or if it was just Zeus. I think it was just.
Was
Zeus.
it Zeus? What?
Googly
goo it. Yeah, look it up right now. You're screen sharing, so googly goo. If you guys don't know what we're talking about the episode where Jerry go camping. He wants to go camping, and then they got the phone call that a planet was pregnant with Rick, and he was like, "I fucked the planet." And then she was like giving birth to the babies, and this person came, God came, and or whoever it is. To be honest with you, I don't know. Like Zeus?
No, it was Zeus.
It was Zeus.
I looked it up, but
yeah, and you know, Zeus was fucking huge, and you know the funny thing is that Rick beat Zeus, but he couldn't beat his friend Phoenix.
Phoenix person, but that's because they're friends, and he brought back Phoenix person again in the end of the last season.
And he left him. Yeah, he left him.
He left him like halfway put back together, and. We'll see Phoenix person again, probably in season 5 or 6, and
right. So
too bad about his bitch wife Tammy, but that's another. That's
Jerry fucking brought the bitch half dead near the end.
Jerry, he kind of saved the day with that. Hey, invisible Jerry, and then he became invisible garbage truck Jerry at the end.
Yeah, and then he used Tammy. He was like carrying her dead body. He was like,
"Hey, it's me. I'm Tammy, and I'm so alive. Hey, buddy.
You know,
look at my sweet ass."
And then even in that episode, Jerry was afraid to pee in front of everybody, just like Rick was afraid to take a shit in front of everybody. It was like the episode where he has his toilet in shit. Yeah, taking a shit. And so even if this characters they appear, you know, like a slug, or you know, appear strong or weak, we all have our insecurities. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
our complexes of inferiority and superiority at times.
Right. You know,
like Cinderella complexes.
What do you mean, Cinderella? That?
Oh,
are you talking about the old one or the one with Brandy?
Oh no, I don't know about the Brandy one, but like the Cinderella complex is just that like she starts out as the underdog, and but she
used the slavery of the mouses.
But she's like integrated in the underworld, and then she comes back to be the hero and take over as the supreme person. So she goes from like regular to inferiority to superiority kind of goes through these complexes of being inferior to being superior, but that's another episode.
Right. And so just like, Isaac, he had that circle. That's pretty much what everybody's going through constantly. I mean, we become a Morty, and then we become a Summer, and then we become fucking and then we become a Jerry, and then we become a Beth, and then we become a fucking Rick. And
I never become a Jerry. Maybe you do.
I would.
Okay, we all do sometimes.
Yeah. So
I'll play the victim sometimes.
As you can see, it's like pretty much the hero's journey. That's what we go through constantly, and it's just something that we, unfortunately, we have to go through. I mean, just like Albert Camus said, the myth of Sisyphus. We roll the rock and then we fall back down, and it's just constantly.
I mean, that's a good image because we go through this every time that we learn something. Like even if we're gonna learn a new trade, a new skill, like a new subject, like get a new friend, lose the friend, get the friend back, whatever the case. Right. It goes through that process every time of like the same 12-step process, give or take.
Yeah. So you're looking at Hero's Journey number 10, and it says new challenge and rededication, road back. And so it's the original death and rebirth, number 8. So it's pretty much just the wheel of what everybody goes through. And
we do this over and over again throughout life.
Yeah, and so we have a different mentor. We have, resurrection, and that's pretty much what's happening tomorrow. Is what is it? Isaac, could you explain to me? Can you explain Easter to me, please? Because I don't fucking get it. I never understood. I never understood why the Pope had to do with fucking Easter and a bunny. I never understood that.
You want me to explain Easter to you right now? Okay, real quick. Boys and girls, gather around. Let me explain to you all the bunnies and all the chickens, and all the zombie Jesuses and the baby Jesuses. Okay, so baby Jesus, he's at okay, so it's very simply, we're remembering that Jesus died for our sins and resurrected later.
Number 11.
Right, but okay, so Christianity has a lot of strengths and weaknesses, but it could overcome a lot of its weaknesses if it just said, hey, guess what? We know that we have integrated paganism into our religion, and so we're going to deal with that truth as we reintegrate those values into society in a more healthy way instead of denying that, including like all the days of the week, like, Good Friday, Easter Sunday. Those are like every of the 7 days of the week are after pagan gods. Monday is the god of Mars, Sunday is god of the sun, and all of that. But in particular, Christmas is celebrating winter solstice, which is that where we make it past the shortest day of the year and days start getting longer again. And this is actually way before Christ or anything known or of him in the story of Christ. In the pagan Europe, they were celebrating the spring solstice, which is why that there are bunnies and eggs, is that whole, like we're talking about here, that of rebirth of because for that of known history of as long as we've had writing and the stories that we can remember and those kind of things and anything historical, it goes back through the agricultural age. And so in the agricultural age and even toward the end of the hunter-gatherer age and everything else, it was about the seasons and making it through winter and the crops and the harvest and everything else. And so Easter was celebrating the spring solstice, and we integrated that with Jesus. And so much, I mean, just like Mary in the Bible, she's nothing more than a regular person, which actually that's a better thing for her to be, because then it's like, if we can just be like a regular person and let God, the self, archetype, whatever, flow through us, then we can let God or the self or the archetype of all archetypes flow through us, then good things will happen. But Catholicism deified Mary because there were these goddesses that they wanted to integrate in with Christianity as they merged Christianity in with the European pagan religions, and same thing with like deification of the saints and everything else. It's because history has always done this. We get a monotheism, and then it like disseminates into pantheism and back up, and that's actually what we're kind of going through right now, is we're trying to unify again our values on something like a monotheism, maybe not necessarily with a god, but more of a just understanding of values and what's going on in the world,
right?
And especially now that it's like
it's chaos right
now.
Yeah.
Well, but we have like even in more so like places like Europe, where they have a huge influx of not only Christians that have been there for thousands of years, but also more and more Muslims. Right. So they're having to learn how to coexist and cohabitate and get along and all those things. And then, of course, the religions of the East are being spread around the world, and people are having to cohabitate with all those and all the values. And then we realize, oh, we all have the same values and the same instincts and the same archetypes and the same psychological structure. So let's just integrate that into the same value set and live happily ever after. Although the only thing is, if you eliminate a higher power and you eliminate the belief in like a
foundation, like a
well, like more of like something higher than human.
Okay.
Because
yeah.
if humanity is the highest thing that there is, then
so basically, like you need a higher up. Let's use God for example. Like
sure.
You need a God, and then if you don't, then you become a fucking Rick, right? Chaotic and
essentially, yeah. Because
yeah.
And that's kind of like what culture is going through right now, is
right.
like what you might call like a Rick complex, or even a Rick and Morty complex, because we're
right.
either they're like, fuck you, God, I'm if there's a God, it's fucking me,
I'm a fucking God.
Or if we're not that, then we're like oh geez, Rick, and we're like a Morty or a Jerry. So but we're kind of like oscillating between those inferiority superiority positions, as we try to just be like, hey, we're regular people and we have these values, but we have to figure out the ultimate value that's above humanity, which is what we're trying to figure out right now.
Right.
And if we want to,
right.
So that's what the world's and so that is like a rebirth of the God / as like Nietzsche said, that we've talked about a couple times in our previous podcast, who like said we've killed God and that's a bad thing, and that's what's kind of like caused this implosion of values and the death of millions and millions of people, because then what happened is you took the highest value that was God, and then we tried to fill that with other things.
We're right at the moment, we're becoming a fucking summer where we're on our phones and trying to like, cut out reality and glue to, Twitter and stuff like that. And it's really destroying our humanity. Like with the whole COVID-19 and stuff like that, we're not, a lot. Me and Isaac, we're in California, so we are one of the states that had a strict lockdown, and everything started to open up. But it's like with what's going on, and you said it perfectly, Isaac. It's like we're spreading everybody all around and trying to like make like you ever seen the sticker coexist? They have to, you okay?
With all the like symbols on it.
Yeah, like okay. It's like, it's just like, we get it though. We know, diversity is our strength and all that. Okay, I get it. Until you draw a picture of Muhammad and your head cut off. You know what I mean? It's like, wait a minute, whoa. You're just like, and that's pretty much what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sense of our surroundings. Does that make sense? Right. We're trying to like, and we can't do that when everybody's having different, what's that word? Like a view or their perspective on the matrix of what they're at. Does that make sense? Like they try to bring forth what they see. And with postmodernism, they pretty much destroyed that God, basically, right?
Which kind of had to happen so that there could be the resurrection, which is what Easter's all about.
Right. And so it's going to be like a new God. Hopefully the God's cool.
He's cool. We can hang out sometime.
Let's have a fucking drunken god.
Yeah.
So, but yes, that was an interesting conversation. I hope you guys learn a lot from us too, especially Isaac, which he did a very excellent job at. And he fucked up the first time, but still.
Try to redeem myself.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode about the archetypes of the characters. There's a lot more. I think the next episode, I think we're going to break down the relationship of Beth and Rick. Not Rick, Beth and Jerry. that came out a little bit. So we're going to break that down for you guys, that episode where Jerry and Beth went to therapy relationship. So I know that, the Rick and Morty episode is kind of like, it's hard for me to kind of get the guys together because we have different schedules and stuff like that. But I mean, Isaac normally have time and do it. So hope you guys enjoy this episode. Make sure you love, like, and share, and do that. And Isaac, you give your information to them where they can find you, the Daily Archetype.
Just look up the Daily Archetype and stay archetypal, everyone.
Yeah. And stay proud.
All right. Peace.
My little fat fingers. Fat.